With the trade deadline fast approaching and already some moves happening, you kind of can feel that we're ramping towards a pretty exciting deadline. I think the NBA has a pretty good system here where a lot of moves happen in the offseason, create a lot of hype. There's a lot of teams that don't meet that hype in the initial season, but there's still time. There's still a trade deadline, lots of moves happen. And I think that keeps that excitement and also gives more new excitement heading into the second half of the season. I think there's really four players that I want to talk about today that I think probably could get dealt at the deadline. And these would be like the four biggest names that I can think of. Everybody else, not to discredit them, but like these are the four guys that I would think if a championship contender added them, that would improve and possibly put them into favorites. Obviously, maybe not all of these examples, right? Like maybe a guy like DeMar DeRozan doesn't necessarily thrust you into championship contention, but it depends on what team they're going to, and that's really where we're going to get in this video. The first guy I want to talk about, which I already named, is DeMar DeRozan. The only way that I think he gets traded is if Chicago doesn't really feel like they can re-sign him, and if he gets traded, then the Bulls are probably going to blow it up. And with DeMar, I don't know that they're going to get a ton of value if they can get a solid couple role players, young preferably, to help kind of kickstart that rebuild. That would be good. I don't know how many firsts they're going to get. Again, he's on an expiring deal, so we'll see. I just trying to think of teams that would want him, like guys that need. Because what does DeMar DeRozan bring, right? Like he's not known for his defense. He's not known for his playmaking. Like he's a scorer. He's developed his three ball a little bit better. He obviously has playmaking ability, so definitely a backup option maybe for a team like Golden State. I could see a team maybe like Dallas or Sacramento coming in and sneaking and grabbing him. I do think he goes to the West though. I I can't really think of too many teams. Maybe Atlanta, but reports are that Atlanta is going to be sellers at the deadline. So I guess we'll see. I'm not really going to talk about DeJounte Murray, so I'll give him a quick second here. I think he's probably going to get traded, but that's if Atlanta isn't a buyer. I think there could be like a big three-team deal where Atlanta gets a guy like DeRozan, and then a bunch of young players go to the Bulls, and then the Lakers give up some people, and then DeRozan to Atlanta, Murray to LA type of thing. But I don't really know if that fixes what LA needs, so we'll see what they do there. A player that would also be getting moved if DeMar DeRozan gets moved is obviously a guy like Zach LaVine. I think that he's at his peak talent wise. Obviously, he has injury concerns. There's already rumors of him going to a place like Golden State. I think Golden State is going to be a team that has to buy. I've already made a video, obviously, about players that they would need to acquire. Um, I think that another team that might be interested would be LA. Like Golden State and LA are both teams that probably are looking to acquire talent. I don't really think, again, like this is probably not a guy who's going to stay in the East. I can't really think of a team. Like I don't see New York trying to get him. Like Philly, maybe Philly would be interested, but they'd have to give up a lot of salary. Obviously, they have a couple of guys like Marcus Morris that have big salary and they're not really playing them, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that one boils down. Zach LaVine is obviously an efficient scorer. He is good shot creator. Like he can get to his spots when he needs to get to his spots. He's definitely an underrated defender. I don't think he's a traffic cone, but obviously, again, not something he's known for. So a team that would want to acquire him might be a team like Detroit. I think Detroit could really be in the running to get one of these stars and just really try and turn their season around. And obviously looking forward, LaVine obviously has a big salary, but he also has a skill set to offer, and it would be an interesting pairing alongside Cade Cunningham. I think the third guy that would be really, this is where you get into, are they championship contenders? And maybe I overrate him, but I really like Lauri Markkinen. I think he's going to be a really big piece where the Jazz could get a big penny for him. And a team like Oklahoma City, I think, is where Markkinen really fits because, he's athletic. He's also a guy that gives you pretty much zero playmaking. And I don't think that's anything that the Thunder are short on. I mean, who doesn't want Lauri Markkinen, right? It's really going to be who's bidding the most. And I think Oklahoma City has the most to offer. Obviously, any team is going to like that guy. I think he's averaging 25 points per game this year. Like, he's your good scorer, athletic. He can really be the guy that plays well off of everyone else. He's definitely not your best player, but he can be the second or third guy on a championship team and a team maybe like Minnesota, although I don't know what they have to offer. They probably don't want to shake up their roster too much. I'd say Oklahoma City putting some of those picks on the line, putting their assets on the table and getting into a place where they can actually compete right now with Shea and Markkinen, obviously with Chet there too. I think that would really put them in a good spot. And the final player that I think would really be a game changer here would be someone by the name of Pascal Siakam. I've already talked about how good he would be for the Warriors. I think that that's, if you're Golden State, the guy you want, top of the list, priority. Already saw some buzz about Sacramento. I don't really like that because I feel like him and Sabonis are a little too similar, kind of with the Boogie and AD pairing. Yeah, they're not the same player, but they definitely get into a position where they're stepping on each other's toes a little bit. So I don't know. I do like Siakam a lot. I think Atlanta, if they're trying to buy, would be a good spot for him too. I don't see the Magic in anyone's list, but Siakam on the Magic would be really good, in my opinion. Obviously, they'd have to give up stuff, like maybe a guy like Wendell Carter gets moved, but you know, Jalen Suggs is pretty good too. It depends on how well these guys are valued around the league. I don't think that it's really going to be too pricey for a lot of these guys on their expiring contracts. But if you can get a guy bought in and he's going to resign, that would motivate you to spend a nice little penny. To acquire some talent. I think the veteran star for the Magic would be really good. Obviously, we know why that would benefit Golden State. And I really like how he would fit with Atlanta and Trae Young, too. So overall, I think it's really with these guys who's willing to go all in, put the chips on the table, make the risk, take the leap, whatever you want to say. This is the guy. You want him. You think he's going to play well for your team. Slide the poker chips to the front of the board, put your stones out there and say, hey, we're competing this year. And, that's what it is. You have to put the best bid because, Utah's not trying to make friends. They're not trying to give anybody a nice deal. Neither is Toronto. They're trying to retool and rebuild. So whoever makes the package that they feel is going to benefit their team the best, that's ultimately where it's going to go, and that's going to be fun. I like really any of the teams with these guys on them. I think these are some players that could look like they need a new home and really would like them to all be in places where they can really contribute to meaningful basketball. So, like I said, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, I can't predict where these guys are going to go, but those are some of the places that I feel like have the assets. These are realistic landing spots, and I think they would be really fun to watch any of these players play in any of these new environments.